This is an arms battle. And progressives, African Americans, liberals, everybody want to put in that category, completely misunderstanding what's going on. And while we as black people are giving money to Zeus Network and we're watching all of these entertainment and sports networks, they are focused on news and information. And that's one of the reasons why people are ill-informed about what's going on. Because as our promo, where Jeff Carr says, bring your eyeballs home. Wherever our black eyeballs go, that's where our attention goes. That's where our money goes.
Mm. Yeah, you really highlighted some really important points. And one thing I want to talk about, you just talked about the PragerU in terms of the money. The relationship between the misinformation, be it whatever, platforms, YouTube, et cetera, X, and the wealth gap in America. Roland, you talked about PragerU getting all this money. I remember PragerU a few years ago was just some kind of, concept or idea. I never thought it would reach the heights it has reached right now. And like you said, many states and working with the federal government. But the point you highlighted needs to be clear to those who are watching in terms of the actual resource gap, in terms of what people who have the resources are investing in. Listen, we have, certainly there's, like I said, there's a wealth gap between black and whites, but there are a lot of black folks who have enough resources to contribute to your platforms and to support other opportunities to put information out there to make sure the black community is well informed. But we're not seeing that. And what are some of the implications? We just saw what you highlighted. You've talked about a lot the last couple of days in particular in terms of the number of black people who didn't vote. And now what we're doing with in terms of the challenges the black communities encounter and will continue to encounter over the next couple of years. Listen, we've lost the platform in the misinformation battle, but we can't afford to lose the war because the challenges we're dealing with are going to be ongoing and generational. So you're playing catch up. So you have to make sure, once again, like you said, Roland, the resources, and we got to make sure that, platforms like yours continue to have the resources they need to put out a counter to a lot of the misinformation that a lot of black folks are getting. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people that I know or encounter that I have to tell them that some information they came across, particularly during the election, is not accurate. And so we're seeing a lot of, even with college educated black folks, it's not about educational background. This is about the platforms you consume and the misinformation that you're being fed and that you believe without checking second, third, and fourth sources. So we need to continue to invest in platforms like you. But this misinformation, it is widespread among black folks of all backgrounds.
So here's what people need to understand. And this is a perfect example. Damian Foster just puts in our group chat, you need to train someone or a group of someones. You do know we have other shows on the network. That's what we've been doing. We've had other shows that we canceled because, frankly, they weren't moving the needle. So I need people to understand what's going on here, okay? And I have been talking about this ad nauseum so our people understand the ecosystem, okay? To understand what's going on here. The reality is everything that you see costs money. If you're watching the show right now, the lighting of the show looks different. It does. Give me a wide shot. The lighting of the show looks different. Why is that? Because we just finished, give me a wide shot. The lighting looks different because give me this shot and give me the camera facing that way. So the lighting that you're seeing right here was a $70,000, give me to the other camera that's facing the set piece. You're seeing a $70,000 lighting upgrade. That's what you're seeing, okay? That lit the news desk, lit the set piece over there, that also lit our green screen. That was $70,000. While that was happening, we were doing a $40,000 IT upgrade in here as well, okay? We're looking at our robotic cameras where we got 10, 12, so the question is how many more do we need? So why am I explaining all of that? Because that's money. That's money. In order for you to build a network, you got to have infrastructure. Infrastructure means studio, it means staff, it means equipment, it means all of those different things as well. So when you're competing against, again, a Benny Johnson who got hundreds of $1,000s from Russia through a front company, and him and Tim Pool, I'll just give y'all an example. I'm gonna pull it up right here. Let's see here. This was a PBR, how Russia covertly hired US influencers to create viral videos. Yep, all of these people were named, $10 million. Okay, these two Russia Today staffers funneled $10 million to these various right-wingers to produce these videos. That's just, it was actually in an indictment. Right there. Look at this here. Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, David Rubin, Lauren Southern. All these videos that they did were being funded. Look at this here. One influencer was paid $400,000 a month, $100,000 signing bonus. And y'all, his was crazy. And an additional performance bonus in exchange for 4 videos a week. Y'all, that is 16 videos. That's all they did for $400,000 a month. Do the math. That's almost $5 million a year from that one funding source. So if I had a sponsor that was kicking us $400,000 a month, don't you think we would have more digital people pumping out content? We'll be able to spend money on ads and marketing to be able to boost. Need y'all to understand what's going on here. Now, expand this. The media business is driven by advertising. What happens when it comes to general market? We're talking Fortune 500 companies, all the commercials you see. $350 to $400 billion is spent every single year. Black-owned media gets 0.5 to 1%. That's all black-owned media. That's everybody that's black-owned media collectively gets that 0.5 to 1%. The federal government spends $1 billion a year on advertising. What does black-owned media get? 1% of that as well. So black-owned media is getting barely 1% of the $400 billion spent in general market, $1 billion of the federal government, and now when you talk politics, black-owned media got $22 million out of the more than $1 billion spent by the Harris campaign and the Future Forward Political Action Committee.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So when folks sit here and go, yeah, man, you shouldn't have took no 350,000. All black-owned media, 22 million out of more than $1 billion. I think it was $1.5 billion. So if black-owned media is not getting political advertising money, federal government advertising money, general market advertising money, well, please explain to me, how can we build and grow? Do y'all now see what I'm talking about? Now, when I talked about the 250,000 people who watch, I just need people to understand, this is math, y'all. This is just basic, fundamental math. We had 250,000 people who watched us at our peak on March 4th, okay? That's 250,000. So imagine if 250,000 people were watching this show on a daily basis, okay? That's 250,000. Okay, if you're talking about 30 days over the course of a show, that's 7.5 million views. Actually, it's going to be way more than that as well in terms of how it's calculated. So if all of a sudden we're now doing 40, 50, 60 million views a month, all of a sudden you're now talking about generating 5 to 7 to 800,000 just on YouTube. So now if you're increasing your revenue there and you're getting these other advertising, so now all of a sudden, now just lay it out. If we were doing 10 million, I'm gonna mess y'all up. If we were doing $10 million a year in revenue, I'm just gonna say 10. There's an office right next door to us where we could actually put 10 production staff writers in there. So now all of a sudden, you would actually have folks who are writing stories, because we are completely retooling blackstarnetwork.com to drive content. Imagine if you then were able to hire 10 what we call predators, producer editors. And that is people who are digital specialists, multimedia folks, we call them one-man bands as well. And then we had them in 10 cities across the country. So we have a designated person in, let's say, Dallas, Houston, Charlotte, let's say a couple in New York, couple in LA, somebody, let's say 2 or 3 in Atlanta. Now, all of a sudden, your footprint now begins to expand. Now, when it comes to driving content, we can be like a lot of these other folks as well. That's at 10, 12 million a year. Now, imagine if we had PragerU money. See, I need people watching to kind of understand where I'm going here, because I'm trying to paint a picture that one of the reasons we have problems is because Black-owned media is systematically frozen out of the marketplace. So when I talk about the 1% and how we get screwed by Publicis Advertising Agency and Group M and Horizon and Omnicom, and I can keep naming all of these ad agencies, and how they won't even return our phone calls, Dentsu, they won't even sit here and give us insertion orders or RFPs. We can go down the line. Then how do you think we're able to generate money and build staff? This is the problem. And when I talk about this, folks go, but if I post something that's gossipy on Instagram or social media, it'll get 20, 30,000 likes and 2,000, 3,000 comments. So I need Black people to understand there's a reason Ebony is almost non-existent. They're trying to rebrand. Jet doesn't exist. There's a reason why Essence is a 3-day festival company and not the magazine it used to be. There's a reason that Black Enterprise basically doesn't even cover business anymore. They are a conference event company. There's a reason why you see fewer, you have 4 Black-owned talk stations in the country. That's it. 4. When you talk about, so the entire Black-owned media ecosystem that we were able to survive on and thrive on from the launch of the nation's first Black newspaper, Freedom's Journal, March 16th, 1827, going all the way through Frederick Douglass and the North Star, Ida B. Wells Barnett and her paper in Memphis that was firebombed, the Pittsburgh Courier, Chicago Defender, Atlanta Daily World, and on and on and on, going through Michigan Chronicle, going through Ebony, Negro Digest, Ebony Jet, Emerge, Black Enterprise, all the way through. If you look at that history, that is virtually gone. And now we are in a position to where we are solely dependent on a small handful of folks. And for the most part, it's Shade Room, Hollywood Unlocked, Ball Alert, Jasmine Brand, that are Instagram pages and websites for information. And then people go, man, why didn't we know what was going on? Because Black-owned media has been absolutely systematically eradicated and decimated. And so I don't want to be sitting in this position when I'm 70. I don't want to sit, I'll be honest with y'all, I'm 57 in November. We've signed an 8-year lease. I don't plan to be sitting in this seat when I'm 65. But we have to be able to build, grow, and hire people and build them up. So over the course of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, then their following will be like mine is right now, and we're trying to build an ecosystem. So when some of y'all bitch and moan about, man, you taking money from the Democrats, well, Republicans damn sure weren't spending money. Oh, I take that back. Republicans were spending money on my show. They weren't paying me. They paid YouTube to run the ads during the commercial breaks on my show. So they value my show and my audience, but they like, no, we're going to pay YouTube. So I need everybody watching to understand we are in the position we're in right now, not by our choosing, but because there has been a wholesale destruction of black-owned media by practicing economic apartheid by ad agencies and by major brands because they want us buying their products, but they don't want to invest in our media. Final round of comments from my panelists. I'll start with you, Niambi.
Well, I mean, I think you highlighted the sort of foundational problem that so many Black institutions face, especially the Black media, is that we need Black support to thrive. And a lot of people don't value Black media and certainly don't want to put money in the hands of Black media brands and companies. And I think it's really unfortunate, especially in this time when good information is so critical, right? I mean, one of the things your show talks about a lot is media literacy on a host of levels, not just how the media works, but how to be good consumers of media. This is why we need those Black spaces again, because so much of what we talk about now is driven by culture, right? Like about sports or entertainment. But these political issues that are ongoing, whether we're talking about police brutality or important bills that are happening, things that are germane to our community, only Black media are going to cover some of these stories. And that's why that media has sustained us and been so important for so long. And so, I mean, I think it's a really unfortunate circumstance, just listening, just thinking about all of these media outlets that don't exist anymore that I grew up on and that I had the privilege of getting to know.
Absolutely. Omekongo?
It's really sad the way you lay it all out. And, you talk about this so frequently, and particularly with the young folks coming up, it's like we say, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. It's like, if you're not going to be involved in actively consuming information about Black people, about our culture, and getting it from Black sources, then you're going to be, victim to anything that's out there, and you're going to fall for all type of game. I see people talking about, Target boycotts and all of this, and they're getting the information from the most random sources. And people have to understand that if we're going to make some real headway in 2026 and 2028, I'm not even just talking about just politically. I'm just talking about in establishing ourselves in the dominant way that we should be in this culture. It's going to take Black information. We've not gotten this far without education and information. And if people think they're just going to do it building platforms and entertainment spaces and getting their residuals off of things like that, they're sadly mistaken. And that's going to be taken away from them, too, because they're not going to be well informed enough to build a successful system. You're sitting here talking about you don't want to be here at 65. You want to have other people running the show. People don't have that long-term vision. And so people need to see this. They need to share it, because now is the time for us to really get on the good foot as it relates to how we control and dominate these information spaces. And like I said earlier, you laid out the blueprint. Other folks just got to follow it.
Larry?
Yeah, so let me say that when we talk about, countering misinformation, I think the panel I'm on right now, my esteemed colleagues, academics, and also authors. Listen, how often do you see three Black folks, like ourselves on your platform talking about issues that impact the Black community?
Well, first
you
of all,
don't
if
see
you're
it.
MSNBC, the only Black professor you're going to see is Eddie Glaude. Lawyer regularly, Charles Coleman. You'll see Melissa Murray, who's a legal professor. I mean, right. I need people to understand, if you actually sat down and started counting who's on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS, yeah, we'll have more Black people in 48 hours than all of those networks will have combined for a week. Go ahead.
Exactly. And that's my point, Roland. Black folks like us, we don't get an opportunity all the time to really talk about our research, our work that relates to the Black community and its important impact. And so your platform this evening and throughout the week, having folks like, from, law or, journalists, et cetera, on the platform who are Black, who care about passionate about the Black community to unpack very important topics, you're just not going to get that. For the folks who are watching, go ahead and get in Cash App or checks or whatever you need to do, because that's the only way you're going to get this informed conversation from Black folks who care and have the background to talk about really important issues that impact the Black community.
Indeed.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.